Hey everybody, welcome back into this magic room. And today the reason why this room is magic is because in the confines of this room, we are talking from San Diego to Dubai. That's a big room. And I love the space of this virtual world that we live in now that allows me to meet a person and several days later just tangentially meet him. I'm not even sure how Wanda and I met each other when I'm going back on it. I think there was some post on Facebook or someplace where she was a friend of somebody. Um, yeah, I think she was a friend of another stranger, and we started to have a little bit of a chat. And I said, why don't you come in and have a conversation, because I'd like to get to know you before I get to know you too much. So the thing about this show, which is really beautiful, is I know nothing about the people that walk into this room. 10 minutes ago, I hardly even knew they existed. I think you'll find, along with me, in about an hour or 45 minutes time, someone that I knew nothing about is going to be a friend of mine that I guarantee that if we're in the same place or close to each other, we'll find a way to get together and have a drink of coffee, a tea, or something like that, because that's how easy it is for strangers to become friends. So the purpose of this show is really, my intention is really only three things. I want the people to come in this room to feel loved and accepted. I want them to feel listened to and heard. And I want them to feel acknowledged and validated. And I want to have this be a window for people in the world who don't feel that way, to know that there's a place and to see how easy it is to just do that for people. It is being sponsored. The show is sponsored by the book over my left shoulder, The Mosaic. It's the book that I wrote. And I love that they're sponsoring the show because it's a story. The Mosaic's a fable. It's a story about a boy who loses his parents when he's young. And he asks the adults where his parents are, and they tell him they're in a place called heaven. So he sets out in search of that place called heaven. But the people he meets along the way are not the people you would imagine would be the people to tell him about heaven. They're common, ordinary people. They're a road worker and a homeless man, a blind woman, and a waitress, a juice man, and a gardener. And he wonders, why am I meeting these people? What are they going to tell me about heaven? But in every single case, when he listens to them tell their story, what he realizes is the person he initially saw isn't at all who they are now. And we all grow up with that. We are all told, don't judge a book by its cover, but we sure do, right? And we make a first impression, and then we make an idea that their color of their skin's different, where they're from is different, what religion they practice is different. And we make preconceived notions about them, which are always not true. The beauty of this show is it blows through those preconceived notions. And in every single case, when I find myself making a preconceived notion about somebody, I find after just listening to them for a very little bit of time, they're not at all what I thought they were. So for those of you who are listening, take the opportunity from this moment on to just find a little bit about the people that you're looking at. Just start out by asking, people ask me, how do you do that? How do you have these conversations? It's really easy. I just start out with a very simple question. How are you? And so with that very simple question, Wandalyn Tan-Calupig, welcome to the conversation. It's such an honor to have you here with us. How are you today?
Thank you, Danny. I'm very excited. I'm very nervous.
Why are you nervous? Look, you got like Santa Claus here. You can't, don't be nervous.
No, I mean, I don't browse through Facebook much, but I've always asked if there's something I need to watch or see, let me be guided. I always have that, and that day I saw Martin posted something about you, and I just woke up that day, and I just watched that video right away, which is a surprise to me also. I don't do that as soon as I wake up, but I saw you, you made Martin cry, and as I watch you, I felt like, oh my God, this guy has so much gifts. But also, I remember I got worried at some point in time. That's why I spontaneously sent you a message. I hope you didn't mind that.
No, it was beautiful.
And I was like, when I always feel there's something I have to give, then I give it with the
Yes.
intention of always, giving what I think needs to be given to those person. And that's why I was very happy and excited, because I know this interview is going to be different from the many interviews I had for the past few months. So that's why I'm very excited. I'm also very nervous. I don't know what's going to come out.
Yeah, nor do I. But I want to already highlight for the listener what has come out. Like, listen to the beauty of what Wanda just said. First of all, that she trusts her instincts, and she trusts spirit to guide her, or God to guide her to what's right. She did something she doesn't normally do. She listened to it. And in opening up, Martine, who was a person I was speaking with, and her going through her moment of, Wanda saw something in me that also had a lot of pain in it. And she wrote me about that pain, and it was the pain of my wife's passing, and the pains, a lot of pains that I've been through, and she wrote me this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful message saying that, give it into God's hands, surrender to that pain to Him, and He can take that all from you. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Okay, because see, well, I don't know. I always have this when I see people, I can somehow feel the pain. I don't know. I've reached that stage. If somebody just walks by, I would know whether they're not feeling well,
Yes.
without even speaking.
Yes.
So sometimes my office mate will pass by and I'll say, "Are you okay?" And it's like, "No, I'm not feeling well. I have flu or something." I already felt that. And as you were speaking that day, I really felt that. And as you tell the story of you being a trash can, and as you said, you let people, you know let you become their trash can. And I was like, I become really worried, because I know we carry a lot of other people's burdens, right?
Yes.
And I've been through that journey, and it's good to help, but being your own rescue is always the best thing. That's why I was like, let me just remind also Danny, I cannot be the trash can for him. But there's always a trash can that was readily available for me 24/7. That's why I shared to you that, I was all first hesitant to send that message, because first I was a stranger to you. But I think it was something that is, if there's always a guidance, I've learned how to follow it. So I just
Beautiful.
followed what needs to be said and done, and I just let it there. And I was very happy that you accepted it, and I was really very happy. And as I see you now, I mean, from that conversation to now, I can see that you have lightened up.
Yes. Yes.
So I am very happy to see that as well, because I've seen how you started that. I mean, just from, I don't really cannot read also the aura and all, but I mean, from the looks of your face, it's brighter than how I watched you before.
Yes.
So I feel happier that I know somehow you've emptied your trash cans and given up something, which I am very happy that I did that.
Thank you so much. And I want people to just listen to the care and concern of a stranger who knows me not at all, but took the time to put energy out to say, just surrender this into the hands of someone who can take all of that pain away. And so first of all, thank you for caring enough to do that. Thank you for trusting your intuition enough to do that. I want to talk about that process of surrender, if I can, because I bet there's a lot of people listening that are carrying a lot of pain. My process in working with people is not to take their pain into myself, because I don't want to be their trash can, but I hold a receptacle out here for them, because I used to take it into myself, and it would just drive me crazy, because I would feel so much pain. I am like you. I walk down the street and I feel people, and I feel what's going on in their bodies. And in my book, The Mosaic, I even talk about it, that I was walking down the street and I felt my heart go through palpitations. And then 2 seconds later, the woman who passed me passed, and her heart was having palpitations. But when she passed me, my heart was fine. And then 3 minutes later, a man walked by me and my leg just buckled under because there was so much pain. And I looked up and watched him as he was passing me. And he was walking with a cane, leaning heavily on the cane because the pain in his leg was so great. And when he walked past me, that pain was gone. So I understand in from inside out what you're speaking of. And I think there are many of us that are empaths that feel that. Tell me, and those who are listening, that process of surrender that you do for the one that has the ultimate trash can for us all.
See, because for my entire life, I mean, my dad died when I was 9. So there's no really man in the family. So I have 2 sisters and I only have a single mother who raised us. So I never had a father figure to start with, and I've always had that. I've always had that direct line, I'll say.
Yes.
That I've always used God as my father. And I've always wanted a lot of things, and through the years I've learned, especially for the last 4 or 5 years, I've learned that surrendering is the most powerful and peaceful thing there is. Because I've always wanted something, it doesn't happen, it frustrates me further.
Yeah.
And then I've learned that I just have to set the intention and then allow God to surprise me of how I wanted, what I want to be given to me. And it always comes out better. Like for example, it was 2014, I was experiencing burnout at that time. And then I did volunteering activity one after another, and I found training and coaching to, that sparked so much joy within, which I never knew I had that gift of speaking, nor gift of sharing my story. And I made a bet with God. I said, God, free me from corporate, and I'll do anything I can to help as much people as I can. And I thought that time doing a part-time job with my company is the solution to that. That will also give time to my small kids then. But God surprised me in a big way through my husband's relocation. So that paved the way for me to, tick a lot of the things that this in my list, to retire early, to give full time with my kids, to really do what I want to do and find myself in the process of that. So everything now, whatever happens to me when I wished for something and then I get a no, I've always learned that no to God means next opportunity. So I've learned to surrender that, oh, what I wanted did not happen. Then I will say, nevertheless, I know, God, you always have bigger and better plans for me. So I surrender to that, knowing that whatever my needs are will always be provided, always more that I've ever wished for. So, and it takes a lot of time, but it's really so much that God has given. So I want to be a testament to that.
And I love that testament. And I want to push you a little bit if I can, because I know that place. I've been involved in that process for 45 years of my life. I know the process of wanting to surrender, wanting God to be the one that drives my car, not me, and trusting that will happen. And I also know the way I get in the way of that. I also know the way that I stand up and I say sometimes, hey, I'm going to just do this on my own because he's probably too busy or whatever, and I make a mess of it, or I do and sometimes what he gives me is not always the better thing that first view. Sometimes it looks like the worst thing first view. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of patience and a lot of strength to say, I trust in you so much that I know, even though this looks like it's the worst thing that could possibly happen, this is the best thing for me. Because what I don't want to do is paint a Pollyannish picture of the world that people say, as soon as I surrender to God, everything becomes beautiful and there are roses put on the path in front of me and there's never another concern, which is true. If we would really do that, it is true. And yet the road that he takes us on sometimes is not the easiest road to walk on. Where do you get the courage to continue to surrender when those roads don't look so good?
as you said, right, it's not also a straight line. So I will share a bit of more story, so at least it will make more sense. So when I left
Please.
corporate in 2016 because of my husband's relocation, I thought it was the answer to everything. Because I wanted to become a full-time housewife. I want to have my own time. But after working for 16 years and being at home, taking all the household work, I mean, which I am not used to, it at some point in time after 3 or 6 months, I was experiencing stay-at-home depression already.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I was like, okay, I'm so tired physically. I was mentally not using my mind and I wasn't earning any money. So I was like, I'm not getting compensated. So, there's a lot of things going on. Am I really on the right path? Then it's a question of what do I do next? I think what I've learned to surrender is always, I'm a person who always wants to plan. And planning to me is very detailed in terms of doing step 1, step 2, step 3. And if that doesn't happen the way I wanted it, I really go crazy because I'm that, I'm that kind of planner. But I've learned that I don't really, there's always a guidance that comes, be it through books that I read, be it through what my kids tell me, or the numbers on the clock that always says, I need to be more patient and I don't need to know everything. I just need to know the next step. So that principle of just knowing the next step helped me have the patience to know, like, what do I do today or what do I do next to move forward? So that way I don't get stuck. So I always ask that question, God, what do I do next? Because at the top of my mind, this is my intention. So just guide me and show me the way. And there's one audiobook I've read. I think it's The Miracle, something with the miracles. I forget the full title. Miracles by somebody, but they said God always knows what you need even before you ask for it.
totally.
So just ask that you ask God to help you perform the miracle He wants you to do. So
Yeah.
every day I do journaling also every day. I think that's been my lifesaver for the past. I've been doing that since high school. I stopped, and then I did it again here in Dubai in 2006. I stopped again, but I saw my notebook in 2011, and everything I've wrote happened.
Wow.
And from 2014 up to this day, I always journal every day. So that's actually my lifesaver to say, I mean, as if I'm writing to God, what I'm thankful for, what I wish to accomplish, what I need guidance with. And always at the end, I will always say, help me perform the miracle you want of me to do.
I love
So
that.
at that part, I surrender. I think that's my surrendering statement every
So,
day.
so here's, and I love it, and I love everything you're saying, and I just want to clarify something because for the listeners who are listening, I think so many of us want to plan out our life. So many of us have, we're going to go step 1, 2, 3. Um, in a neutral term that I want to use, that's called control. We want to have control over our life. We want to plan it out according to the way we see it. We're going to try and make these things happen for our lives. And then there's the ability to say, help me achieve this or better, which is what you're saying. But what I want to ask you in particular is, how did that element of control of a person who is used to planning out her life and step by step, and even if I can't get to the third, I'm going to plan out the first step. How does that coincide with the person who says, Lord, beautiful God, take me wherever you want to take me. I'm not in control of this. And I want to just be at your mercy, and you just walk me where you want to walk, and I will be happy to go where you go. Do you understand my question?
Yes. So for me, I've been through a lot, especially the past 4 years, I'll say. So, and the biggest learning really for me was to, to let the control of the situation, to only control what I can control, which is the things that I think, the feelings that I feel, and the words that I speak. But even to that, I also always pray that you help me become an instrument of what you want me to be. This has always been my prayer. I mean, after suffering from that burnout, I've learned that I was reviewing my entire career for 20 plus years, and I've learned every career I've been through, I love the job first, then I experienced burnout at some point in time. And I learned that, oh, burnout is the theme of my life. And that is because my mission is to help others become happier. And that mission has brought me to many things. Sometimes it's kind of difficult also for me to, you know, I was like, I felt so spread sometimes. I even asked
Yeah.
God, really, I mean, I've written books. I mean, I am not very good in writing, even in high school or you know, college, but I was able to write a book in one day in 2014. Or so I was, I know it's always when I have that guidance and I just let it flow. And that is where the magic really happens. So because I've seen how God works through me when I surrender, then I always now have that guidance that, you know, to honor the light within, to honor whatever is, you know, guide, I mean, given me, I mean, whatever guide comes through, then as much as I can, I really try to follow now. Because I've
I
learned my lesson so much that I
no,
don't want to repeat the same mistakes.
I totally understand. What I'm trying to get at, and I don't know if it's possible, but if there is a process to your process of surrender, because that
Uh,
process, like it's so easy to speak those words and to communicate those words, but people don't know how to do that. Like, how do I go from I'm arranging my life in the way that I want to the place where I am going to have God use me as an instrument. So whatever I'm arranging may or may not come to be. And that's okay. But if that's really the place that we stand, that God, I want to be your instrument, why do we take the first step of arranging our life, step 1, 2, and 3? Because that may or may not be what God wants for us to do. Why not just start at the place of make me your instrument? Do with me what you want.
I've learned two things. There's something called goal setting, they said, which is very powerful. In the goal setting stage, this is where you write your visions and your plans, right? But there's also one powerful thing I learned, which is called life visioning, which is a question not from yourself, but from God, which I've learned it from Michael Beckwith, where he said, instead of, you know, he said goal setting is grade 1 of personal development. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in grade 1. But he said, life visioning is about looking at what is God's vision for your life. It's about asking yourself, what does God want to give birth through you?
Beautiful.
So as you know, as I've always listened to this podcast, I always watch a lot of master classes, and you know, it's a continuous learning for me. So when I learned about life visioning, then I started to ask myself also some high level questions, which is not from my perspective, which is from God. So I was able to tie it up with what does God want to give birth through me, and what are my goals, and I just let it, you know, the dots connect at some point in time. It's not also, you know, right away. Like, for example, my speaking journey started 8 years ago. I rejected that because that time my boss just said, go and speak at the conference, represent, you know, the entire organization. And it was like, me?
Right.
Why me, right? I'm a woman. There's a lot of people who's more senior in the department who can speak. I can speak the topic, but it's about the audience, which are very senior people, men. So I wasn't really comfortable at all. And that time I still have a baby. But as I look back, I mean, 8 years ago, that is my first exposure to public speaking, which something that I love so much doing now.
Yeah.
So if that did not come 8 years ago, I wouldn't have appreciated it. So, you know, connecting the dots, I mean, I think what I also always do, I always reflect on what is my situation now and what is my situation before, and I try to connect the dots and see from there, because that helped me understand that, oh, when I surrendered that, this happened. So at least I will have more power to say that worked well for me before, then let me surrender this, so that whatever comes next, I know it will be better than I've always wished for.
So I love your honesty, and I love your And what I want to do is I want to make it, if I can, even more real.
Okay.
Okay? Because there's a beautiful moment when you're speaking of you hearing the guidance and you being told by your boss or whoever it was that you're now going to address this whole conference. And there's the beautiful moment of your self-doubt and self, questioning, like, why me? Of all people, why would I be the one to do that? And I think that's such a real thing for people that we experience. We're given this gift, which is the beginning of where we want to go. And we're being given this gift of, this is our direction. This is something that will open up a new path for us. But we take the small part of ourselves, which says, but why me? I'm a woman and there's more people qualified, or there are better people to speak this and I can speak it, but there are people that are more senior. And I want to apply that trust in God in that moment and how that trust in God manifests. And now that you understand the question that I'm asking, I want to fast forward to today. Where is that existing in you today, where you're being asked to do something right now that your self-doubt is coming and standing up against? That if we really could surrender, because surrender sounds like such a beautiful, simple thing. I'm just going to give my life to God. But it is a courageous, powerful process that is not simple at all. And so I just want to make it very real for people, because I know people are going through this where they're trying to surrender, they're trying to give their life to God, but then they get scared. And they think, but me, why me? Like, there's so many other people that could do this. Your thoughts? What's happening right now for you, where you're in the midst of that battle?
I'm still in the middle of the battle, I'd say. See, I found my love for training and coaching, and I've finally built that company that I wanted. So I thought when I had that in 2018, everything was like, oh, it's really God answered prayer for me. That, my training and coaching company is there, and I'm gonna make the impact and influence that I envision.
Yeah.
But come 2019. We were already settled in the Philippines back then. There was an attempted robbery and earthquake that happened on the same day.
Wow.
And so I was in total shock, because, it's the security of my family that was threatened, that happened on the same day. And I was like, that time my husband said, we'll go back to Dubai, because we've been here for 10 years. So if there's second home, that will be Dubai. And this is, safety and security is where we felt number one here. So that time my husband said, we'll have to go back to Dubai. And that means I have to work and I have to leave my training and coaching company behind. So I was really questioning God of why now? Because at that point in time, I've just started partnering with the Department of Trade and Industry in the Philippines. I've started winning the accounts with the Central Bank of the Philippines. And everything was like, filling already.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I'm getting there. But now I have to drop it. So I was like, God, I know my family is my priority, and that is my number one core value. And that means leaving the company that I've loved and established and working again, which I hope not, because that I wanted to really do that training and coaching, but then I had to. So when we made that decision, I again made a bet with God. I said, God, if this is for me, then let thy will be done. When we came back to Dubai, we left everything behind. My job, my husband doesn't have a job. I don't have a job. We just came here for a vacation. We just said, if we'll find a job, we'll stay. If not, we'll go home. But everything, and I always will write, Lord, this is the job that I even have a small paper to say, this is the kind of, if I will work again, this is the kind of company I want to work with, the amount of salary, the kind of people I want to work with, industry. I was very specific. I put in a small note, I put it in a mirror, and I will always, write down when I journal, Lord, I know that that I want my training and coaching company, but this means I have to work again for the family to be here, because it's either one of my husband and I were like, whoever gets the visa first needs to take care of the family, because
Yeah.
there's that, it has to be like that. So I always do that, journaling and praying, and I was able to get my entire family was able to settle everything back here in 1 month, from finding a job to getting schools. So that's surrendering. And even now, as I'm still employed, but my love for training and coaching is still there. And I still surrender to God that, one of my big dreams is to have this working mom academy, because I've seen, when I suffered burnout in 2014, my entire family was affected overall. As I was getting sick, my kids are also getting sick. My relationship with my husband is not as good, because I was always, looking for something. I don't also know what.
Yeah.
So, so I said to myself now, if there is one person whom I want to help, that will be a working mom, because that is where I can share how I was able to come out of that burnout situation, how I was able to hold my family and myself together. That can definitely impact. And as I put this dream, what happens also, like for example, during the pandemic, I found one post, and I always write, Lord, this is my dream really, to have this working mom academy. As I surrendered that dream, I said, but I am still working now, but I still really want that dream to happen. As I speak about it, a lot of things just comes my way. Like, for example, I was able to, from a Facebook feed, I saw that there's a female entrepreneur funding program, a pitch program for Singapore. And I was like, there's no harm. Let me just pitch my idea. And I submitted it a day before closing. And I was able to get through. And at that time I said, oh, maybe there are like few applicants. That's why I got in. But
Right.
when they were talking about it, there were 128 people who went through. And I was, I think we were 10. I was one of the 10 or 12 people who got in. And I was like, oh, God is doing something right. And as I summarize these ideas, as I speak now, I was able to also meet Spendless Academy, and the founder is a mother. And she interviewed me 2 days back, and she asked me the same question: what is your biggest dream? What do you want to accomplish? And I said, I really want to have this Working Mom Academy, which I hope will help working moms, because as I was struggling, nobody was really helping me. And it took so much of my time and money to really find the answers to the questions I had when I was suffering. And I really want to pay it forward now and to help those people before me. And she offered her help. She said, okay, let me be one of your advisors to make this goal a reality. So as I speak now, I'm still surrendering of, I really, this love for training and coaching is something that I see myself doing until my old age. And the impact to the working moms is something so close to my heart, because I know how much working moms are burned out and suffering inside. But I also know that they are their own solution. And I want to be an instrument of that. And, just things just come. So I'm very happy. And I just say, I'm just always trying, like, okay, let me just ask this Spendless Academy. I just sent her a WhatsApp message. Remember, you interviewed me and I had this dream.
Yeah.
So it's always like that. And I always believe that people that we meet always have, as they said, we're one. And every person that we meet has a meaning to our existence. So I always find to, how does this person link to how I can help him, or how I can be of help, and how can we work together to do something better. So I always look at that as also.
So can I share with you something I'm feeling?
Okay.
I want you to trash can this if it's not appropriate. It's just a feeling that I'm having. It doesn't mean it's a correct feeling. It doesn't mean it's the right feeling. But I trust my instincts enough that when I get them, I want to share them with people. but that doesn't mean it's the right thing for you at this moment. So if it's not right, just promise me you won't take it for a moment inside of you. You'll just throw it in the trash. Okay, and not even think about it. I feel a conflict in you. And I feel that conflict is from two powerful feelings. One is the sense of purpose that you feel driven to do. You know this is what you have to do. This is your purpose. And one is from the sense of surrender of, God, make me an instrument to do what you want me to do. In the beautiful moment where those two things are the same, you have glory, you have praise, you're completely aligned. But as you speak about it right now, one of the things I feel is that your desire to do what you think is your purpose may be actually preventing you to see what God is trying to give you to help you get to that in a different way than you're thinking to get to it.
Really?
Yes.
I want to hear, what do you think is the conflict?
I think the conflict is your will versus God's will. And I don't think it's as black and like, look, everything is black and white. I have a black and white book. I have a white beard. I have a white wall. I'm wearing a different color shirt. So I'm not black and white there. It's not as black and white as that. But what I would ask you to do from my intuition to yours, but because I feel you, is I would ask you to just take a look at your desire to do this thing that you think you have to do. And is it preventing you from seeing something that you're being given to see? You know that picture, have you ever seen that picture? It's a drawing. And it's a woman in one way, she looks like an old hag.
Oh,
And the other way,
toothpaste.
toothpaste.
I always use that in my workshop.
Yeah, so you use it, I do too. So it feels to me like you are caught in that picture right now.
Okay, let me discern further. What does that mean to me, and how can I merge that?
Because to surrender to God's will is such a powerful, and you do that. I feel that is so in tune with who you are and what you want. And at the same time, I feel there is this holding on to, this is my vision. This is what I have to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. This is my purpose. This is what's on my vision quest. This is what's on my goal. This is what I believe is my purpose here in this world. I would just like to ask you, what if that's not true? What if there's another purpose for you that you're being given, that you, if you were to surrender, would be way bigger than the vision that you think, way easier, way more natural for you, way more beautiful for you. And just to always,
I would like to know.
Yes,
I would like to know that.
So
I would like to know that.
So the beautiful thing of how we get to know that is by letting go of what we see and trying to see what would be there if we stop just focusing our attention on trying to see this thing. And just allow your divine, which you have a beautiful relationship with, to just say, hey, Wanda, here's what I really want you to come over here. They tell a story in Eastern philosophy about a man who goes to see his teacher. And he wants to know what his purpose is. And his teacher says, if you go, I want you to go north. And the man just hears that and gets up and starts running and goes north. And he runs north for about 1.5 miles. And what was an effortless, easy road for him now turns into the hardest road he's ever been on. He's suddenly in jungles, and he has to take out his machete and he's chopping down things. It was just a clear path for a while. And then he gets into quicksand and he feels like, oh my God, I'm drowning in this quicksand and it's so hard. And finally he turns around and he comes back to see his teacher and he says, I don't understand. You told me to go north, and for the first 1.5 miles, it was so easy, and then it got so complicated. What is it I'm supposed to learn? And he said, well, you didn't listen to the rest of my instructions. I was telling you go north for 1.5 miles and then go east, but you heard go north and you just went running north. Had you listened, then you would have gone east at 1.5 miles and your road would have been effortless again. Part of what I would like to invite you to do in this conversation, just if it feels right for you, is to set aside what you think you believe for what it is you're supposed to do. And just listen again anew. And just say, what is thy will for me, God? If I were to take this off the table, what is thy will for me? Let him bring it back if it's yours. He'll bring it back. If it's yours, there's no escaping what your purpose is. If that's yours to do, he will bring it back to you and he will continue to bring it back to you. But if it's not, you're bearing that burden of holding on to something that is not yours. And it's painful to do that. And it's hard to do that. And it's full of effort. When really, it may be yours to do. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I see a conflict. And it was right from the moment you started talking about it, of I plan and I have goals and I do this. And remember, I asked you the question, how does someone who have goals surrender? Because the goal is my goal now in my life right now. I don't have a goal of what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a faithful servant to my Lord. That's why when I received your message, easy to take it, easy to hear it, easy to be it, because I want to hear God speaking to me in the voices of the people that speak to me. I want to hear him speaking to me in the voice of my own self. I don't want the voice of my voice to be so loud that I can no longer hear him anymore. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, makes sense. Actually, I remember I was journaling in the morning. I always read some passage, then I read at least 4 things before I journal. I remember one of the things that was said is listen to your heart. Yeah. So I think if you're saying this, I want to thank you for your honesty. And I've been very quiet. Maybe I need to silence myself for a while. Yeah. And listen to what my heart is telling me. Then I think that will be always the best way, because really the heart is where God speaks the most. So I should use that technique. I used to ask my children. My children are very close to God. Right? When they were small, I will ask them, baby, can you ask God what's his message to me today? They will just hold their heart.
I love that.
They will say something, but it always is the message that is truthful. Sometimes I just cry just by hearing what they said. Yeah. But as they grow also, they said, Mommy, why do I have to ask God for you? I said, why don't you ask yourself? And I was like, okay, I think this is one exercise I should start doing again. Yeah. So at least the alignment is really where I also want to be, of course.
What I find in the process of my relationship with God is the more faith I have in him, the more my faith gets challenged. And what happens is that I have this faith in God will take care of me. God will take care of me. And this is very current for me. And I'll share something with you that's been happening over the last 6 months for me. I thought that I completely believed that God would take care of everything for me. I'll tell that to other people with full conviction, that I know that God will guide us, God will take care of us, God will lead us to the places where we need to go. And yet when I looked at my own life, I wasn't really living that life. I was saying, I know God will take care of me, but I got to take care of this business. I got to go out and I got to sell my wares. I got to tell people what I do. I got to help people. I got to fix people. I got to change people. I got to do all this stuff. And one day I really asked myself, do I really believe God will take care of me? Do I really believe that if I were to move myself, and I felt like a prostitute, to be honest. I felt like I'm just standing on a street corner selling my wares and selling myself, and you give me this amount of money and I give you this service in return. What would happen if I just said, God, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to allow you to bring to me the people that want whatever I have. And I'm going to work with you that we figure out how we charge for that and what we do. That there is no set price. There is no set formula. There is no set service. But rather, we work together in cooperation to figure out how does this work for both of us. And neither one of us is helping or fixing or changing each other. We're just loving each other and coming together. And by coming together and loving each other and holding each other and being with each other, something magical happens. It just happens because we're better together. It's the nature. If we're united, we stand, divided, we fall. And so do I really believe that? And I went through some moments, many moments, still going through some moments where income wasn't coming in. And I said, okay, I just trust you. I know this is the place where I normally bail. I know this is the place where I would go and get my work. I know this is the place that I would start to put out feelers. I know where the street corner is that I can hustle some customers into my prostitution ring, so to speak, right? Of work that I do for people. I'm just not going there because I believe in you. That process is not easy. That process is scary as hell. But some reason I felt to share that with you because I believe you have the faith to challenge yourself even harder than you're challenging yourself right now.
I'll do that. That's a good thing. I think I can do that.
I know you can do that because that's what I felt your soul asking me for it. We have this crazy relationship where we don't know each other, but we're here for each other. And if I can help you in any way in that regard, please let me know.
I will do. Thank you for that.
From this place where you sit right now, what are you going to do with all your goals and all your plans?
See, I always just write my goals and plans and I just let it happen. So I think now I just have to take some moment to, and I do a lot of meditations lately, and it was like it's listening to a program, but I think I just need to listen to the silence and what's the message in between that. So, and sometimes I always, if I had the hint, then I have to Google what's the meaning of this. Then I was from there, then I will ask further meaning. But I think I have to listen to my heart, is what my heart's telling me, and let's see how it will come one day at a time. And as it goes, then I would love to follow. As they said, the alignment is always what I wanted, but as you said, right, it's not easy also. But I think this is one very good reminder for me to just be silent, don't do anything, and see what happens. Because I want to share with you, Dan. One time, I attended I was in that still dark moment of my life. I attended a spiritual conference, and one person was sharing on stage. She almost killed herself, but God spoke to her. And the other said she was about dying, but God spoke to her. That time, when these two ladies were speaking, I was thinking in my mind, come on, I'm also very faithful, but God never spoke to me. And that time, I heard a voice in my head saying, serve me now, serve me now, serve me now.
Wow.
I mean, I've heard it, but I've never heard it again. And that's why I've always asked for, God, please speak to me in the voice that I will best hear you.
So can I just interrupt you for a minute?
Yeah.
Where do you operate from? Do you operate from your head or your heart?
It depends. But I think I've always operated from my head. That's why there's always the misalignment, because your head is very strong, but your heart is very strong, but your heart is always right.
Yes.
And I've learned some tools to help me access it, like the muscle test, to know what's true to me. Then I do the muscle test also. I've learned decision making through muscle testing, because I know that it's not from my head, but that's from my heart. So
Wanda,
Yes.
let me jump in a minute here.
Okay.
And again, if any of this doesn't make sense, please throw it away.
Okay.
Okay. You have such a huge heart. You have a huge heart. And when I sit with you now, I hear your heart saying to me, please invite her to come back to me. Your head's where you go where you're scared.
Yeah.
And your heart's where you go where you trust. The reason you're not hearing the voice in what I'm getting, at least, is maybe it's only a partial reason, is because you're scared of the voice and you're going to your head and you're talking to the voice. You're talking with the voice of your head when you actually want to listen from the voice of your heart. Your heart knows exactly what to do. Your heart
True.
knows exactly where to take you. And you're so smart. You're starting to believe that you are in your heart when you're thinking about being in your heart, but you're thinking about being in your heart. You're not in your heart. What I would really recommend is you place your energy at your heart and just listen. You don't even have to ask.
Okay.
You're
I'm writing
asking,
down.
you're asking is superfluous. Your God knows everything that you need and want. You don't even have to ask. I'm
True.
different than a lot of the self-help people or the law of attraction. You ask, and you're asking every moment with every fiber of your body. You don't have to ask with your mouth. And what I would do in your particular case is I would say, you know what my heart wants. Don't allow me to confuse you with the voice of my mouth and my head. Please deliver to me what my heart wants, and give me the courage to trust and follow.
I love that.
Because what I see in the conversation you're having with me is you're speaking about the process of surrendering. And you have surrendered. I'm not saying it's not black and white, but you're speaking about the process of surrendering rather than just surrendering. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. There are different levels of surrender.
Yeah. And
So I think,
you're
yeah.
ready to go all the way in. And it's not a matter of where you work or what you do. It's a matter of who does all of that. Who is the who that's doing that? Is it you doing it, or is it God doing it through you?
Thank you.
It's my honor. This is not normally what happens here. I normally don't come this way, but I just somehow, we have a unique relationship, and I just want to share with you what I feel, because if it's, again, throw it in the trash if it doesn't make sense.
It makes sense. It's the message from me from morning. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So at least it aligns to what's in the morning message to me. Listen to your heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you would just slide yourself out of the way, this is what happens in the book, The Mosaic. When Mo meets all these different people and he sees that they are not who he thought they were, he starts to ask himself, I wonder if I see anything the way it is. And what would the world look like if I got myself out of the way and I just saw it the way it was? And the moment he asks that question, he looks to his right and he sees a monk unzipping the sky and inviting him to walk through to a parallel reality, in which he introduces him to the wise one, who's the keeper of the mosaic, who's arranging all the pieces of the mosaic around the world, putting this piece where it goes, and this piece where it goes, and this piece where it goes. And what I would invite you to do is slide yourself out of the way. Just allow everything that you think and feel, because you're so strong-willed. And just take everything that you think and feel and slide it to the right for a minute.
Okay, I will do that.
And say, what would the world look like? What would you ask of me if I wasn't here to try and talk over you or try and tell you what I want? God knows what you want. If you don't have it by now, there's a reason why you don't have it by now. It may not be what he wants you to have right now. So what would happen if you said, I don't care what I want. I want to do what you want me to do. Take me to where you want me to go. Wanda, in the remaining minutes that we have, which is just a couple, first of all, tell me what you're feeling right now.
My heart is very relaxed now. Now I know why it was tense in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because the message will be revealed, but I think it's very relaxed, and it's telling me something. And thank you for that.
It's
So I have
my honor.
to do an exercise to really find that.
I love that. From your heart that is very relaxed right now, what do you want to say to the world that's listening right this minute?
I think what I want to say is every pain has a purpose. I cannot, there's so many things I've been through, from the death of my early father to my burnout but I think, as I always ask, what's the opportunity here? What's the purpose in this pain? How can I use it for a better one? Then I always find it. So that is what, and I think it's really about writing down. I mean, you just grab a paper. If you feel really you're lost, you can find yourself with a paper and a pen. As simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Write it down, flash it all if you need to. And I always, when I have a block, as I found it, I always write in a paper. Then I will pray, and then I will tear it down.
Mm-hmm.
This is one simple process that has, very simple, but it has opened a lot of opportunities to some people I've helped. And I hope that simple exercise of, acknowledging, writing, and praying, and just staring and letting it go will open something to whoever will watch this video, because that has been the lifesaver for me. So that very simple exercise, I hope, can help them.
I love that. Have you said that exercise before? Have you said what you just said right now before to someplace else?
I think I had a couple of interviews the past few months, and that is one thing I've always, even in the book I wrote, I also shared that, I learned a lot of things, but I always try to simplify it in the best, simplest way. And I found that simple writing and tearing exercise and surrendering with prayer as a very powerful tool. I mean, people have landed jobs, got what they want. I was able to get a lot of contracts just by letting go. And people are the same, just by, they're just releasing the pain because they didn't know it exists.
Yeah.
It's very, as my clients and as my friends told me what happened to them, I was also very surprised that, oh, really? Just by writing down, this happened to you. I felt so relieved. And if that work, from healing a pain to getting a job to getting, removing the blocks and having more success and what you want, then I hope that simple exercise can free someone from the pain they're going through.
So I want to ask you to do one more thing before we go.
Yes.
I want you to slide everything you just said to the right.
Okay.
That answer is not available to you anymore. I want you to come from a new place. Mm-hmm. And tell me, if you had 2 minutes now, what would you share with the world? You can't say what you just said. What would you share with the world right now?
What will I share? I think there is always one God who's always watching. You might not hear it, you might not see it, you might not feel it.
Hold on 1 minute. Come to your heart. I don't want you to talk from your head. I want you to come into your heart.
Okay.
And I want you to share, even if it's that same message, I want you to share it from your heart, not from your head.
Okay, let me ask my heart. Oh, there's a very simple message. All will be well because God is in control.
Do you feel a shift that just happened right there?
Yeah. It's always straightforward. I know. I have to do that more.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything, but there's a shift that happens when you go to that place. Even from the place where you prepare for that place where you just went and you feel, to the simplicity of the message that comes out, to the power of the love that message holds, to the place that is not just the regurgitation of something you've done and said to your clients and to people that you work with, but just from person to person, just sharing your heart to their heart. I want to thank you for having the courage to walk with me into this room, for letting me challenge you in some ways that I normally don't challenge people. I appreciate your openness to receiving it. I hope that I didn't step on any boundaries or step across any lines that weren't for me to go past. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here with us. All of your information is going to be in the show notes that we have. But if people want to get in touch with you to feel your heart, how would they do that? What's the best way of all the ways that you have? What's the one best way for them to reach you?
Thank you, Danny, first for inviting me. It's I'm very excited. I'm very happy. The message is really clear now. So I want to take a deep breath and really, absorb that, listening to my heart. I want to do more of that. I think if people want to reach to me, um, please connect with me on LinkedIn, Wandalyn Tan-Calupig. I also have books. If I read my books now, I don't see myself writing those. And I was like, really, I wrote that?
Yeah.
But I want to invite you to grab a copy of my books because that is, I think, where my heart spoke the most.
Mm-hmm.
That is where it all flows. So I just have to do that again. But um, I have 3 books, one on parenting. It's called, I forgot even the
We'll have
title.
links to all of them
Okay, I will
in the
have
show
links
notes.
later. I have a book on parenting. I have a book on how to be happy, healthy, and wealthy as a wife, Wife Life Secrets, and I have a book on happiness.
Fabulous.
All of those books is my life journey of really a summarizing of my life. So I hope that is helpful to those who need it.
Fabulous. Again, thank you for coming, folks who come and listen to this show. I want to thank you for listening. You are beautiful, beautiful people. And if you have liked this show, share it with people you like. That's what we do. We go to a restaurant we like, we tell the friends of ours that we went to the restaurant, they have to try this meal. It was so good at this restaurant. We tell them about it. Well, same thing with this. If you like this show, why not share it with your friends? Tell them that you like it. What I want you to see as a listener, I want you to see is I didn't know Wanda even existed 4 days ago, 5 days ago, a week ago, however long ago it was. She heard something on a show that I did. She sent me a message that was from her heart. That message touched me. I invited her to come and have a conversation. Her conversation now touched me, and we are friends now. So a stranger became a friend in a very short period of time. What would happen if you did the same thing? What would happen if you reached out to someone who was a stranger now and just cared enough to ask them how they're doing and sat with them enough to say, I want to feel your heart. I want to feel you. I don't want to hear just what you think. I want to feel who you are. And spent the time listening and holding the space for them to show you who they are. Did you feel the shift that happened in Wanda when we went to her heart, when she went to her heart? Did you see the space that created for her? And do you see the possibility of what that might bring to her as she contemplates that and feels where to move through that as she goes forward? That isn't something that I did. That's something we all can do by just holding the space to say, oh, that I want to feel you. I want to know you. So as I close every show, I want to close this show with the challenge to take 10 minutes out of the course of your life. 10 minutes out of the course of a lifetime is not a lot to ask. Go up to someone you don't know, either online or in person. And just ask them, how are you doing? And just listen to them. You don't need to help them. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to change them. You don't need to make them happier. You don't need to do anything. All you need to do is hold the space and listen to them. And when you hold the space and listen to them and ask them questions from that space, something happens. Wanda, is there one last thing you want to say before we close the show?
Nothing. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my honor.
My heart is full.
I love that. It's my honor to have you share your full heart with all those who have empty hearts, which I know you will do. And until the next stranger comes into this room, folks, be kind to each other, love each other, listen to each other, care about each other. And everything you do for the other, do for yourself as well. When we live in a world where people are strangers, it's a strange world. But when we take the time to get to know a stranger and make a stranger into a friend, we start to live in a world that's a friendly world, because there are no strangers anymore. And in this moment in time, the world could use a friendly world as its backdrop rather than a strange world. So go out, do good things, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and just listen to what this world's trying to say to you. Until the next stranger comes in, God bless you. Ciao.